The second thing I thought, well, this is pretty cool, but I want to know how close is it to taking my job. So I had it write code.
Yep.
I said, write me this function to do this thing.
Right.
And it wrote it out. And then I said, refactor it to be more streamlined. It did.
Right.
Even better.
Right.
Probably the most optimal way.
Right.
And I was like, how crazy is this?
All right, well, welcome back, guys. This is Taurus O again. And, today I'm sitting here with the Ben Caparoon, a longtime friend of mine, also someone who's been something of a mentor to me. In fact, we're both technologists. We're in the software industry. And Ben was actually the one who gave me the opportunity when I was a strapping young lad. I don't know why I wouldn't have hired me, but he's crazy enough to have taken a chance on me. And, I've been in the industry now for something like going on 6 years. So it's actually been longer than I thought.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Been a long time, but I've been in this industry for 6 years now, and he gave me a chance on the first software job that I've had, and so we've been working together on and off over the years. We wanted to talk about this topic of AI. AI is all over now, and I felt like Ben was a good person to talk about this because I'll let him go and talk a little bit about himself. But basically, Ben has been in this industry for quite a while. He's working for a top company, one of the FANGs, and you would know exactly what company it is. It's the A in FANG, but I'll let him talk a little bit about himself.
Oh, I don't have much to say. I've worked for Amazon for the last couple of years as a software development manager. I don't know what to say. I've been doing this for a long time.
A long time.
And, when I hired Taurus, he knew a little bit, not a whole lot.
I knew nothing.
But he's amazing now. He's been doing really great things. But I have to tell a story. When I hired him, I taught him from scratch how to do like HTML, JavaScript, .NET, all that stuff.
Facts.
And I gave him a project. I said, copy this website and do all the HTML, everything, and make it look just like this. This guy puts in images onto the website, and I was clicking on it, and I drug an image, and I'm like, what is this? Get this out of here.
Okay, look, he said make it look exactly like this website. So I said, okay.
Yeah, and now he's doing like fantastic things, service-oriented architecture, and mobile. I think you've done some mobile development.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Mobile, desktop, web, APIs.
I've tried to get him to work for me again at Amazon, but he's happy apparently where he's at.
Pretty happy where I'm at. And I'm with Rocket Mortgage, if you guys didn't know, and they're pretty good company. They keep me pretty happy. So, yeah, but man, AI, it seems like, Ben, I would say 3 years ago, we were working for a company in Dallas together. And I was tasked to prototype this AI technology, right? And it was pretty rudimentary at the time, about 3 years ago, right? And just for some context, the company that we're working at is a video company. They do live security monitoring. Mm-hmm. So imagine you have an apartment complex building or a car dealership, and you have cameras set up at every angle, and you have people in a monitoring center monitoring these devices. Well, if you have people watching live cameras, you need a lot of people if you have a bunch of cameras around, a massive property. Yep. And so we had a lot of humans sitting in a room watching these feeds. And so, of course, any company is thinking, how do I limit the amount of people I have sitting in front of these cameras? And so the idea was, okay, well, most of the times when we're watching these cameras, a lot of things happen that raise an alarm that we don't really care about. If we see a cat walking by, we don't care.
A bag blowing in the wind, we don't care.
But if we see somebody climbing over a fence, we should probably...
A gun, a car, a person.
We should probably do something, right? And so it's like, that seems like a good thing to use AI on, image recognition.
Yep. And keep in mind, this was right at the beginning of COVID.
Absolutely.
And the reason why we needed to do this was we had a lot of people monitoring all these cameras.
Yep.
And during COVID, we were an essential business.
Absolutely.
But in different countries, we had people in the US, people in Canada, and in Manila watching these cameras. So every country had their own regulations.
Yep.
But the fact is if anybody tested positive for COVID, they would have to empty that entire room, shut down operations.
Right.
And so our project was really to streamline this process, reduce the noise, and at the same time build a system, different topic, but build a system where people could do it at home.
At home, absolutely.
So we kind of paired these two projects together.
Absolutely. So my task was, there is some image recognition AI types systems that we want to integrate with. The big players, Amazon had some, Microsoft through Azure services had some. We had some smaller players that we were also looking at as well. And my task was simply integrate these APIs, these different systems into our video feed and see what they can tell us about the images we're receiving. Right? The popular one that I think we ended up going with was Amazon Recognition Service. And basically, it was really rudimentary. Basically, you send it some frame, some image, and it would tell you the things it see in the image, and literally just send you back words: cat, mouse, car, human. And then we took all that information and we said, okay, whatever we care about, when we see a word we care about, then we'll raise the alarm, and then we'll put this in front of a human. And I remember prototyping that technology and thinking, this is really cool, but I'm so glad that AI can't replace me right now. And I was thinking, with this level of technology, we're at least 15 years away before I really have to think about, is my job in danger from some AI system?
And it was interesting because they didn't just tell you what it was in the frame. They also told you, I can't remember how it's phrased in the data getting sent back, but how accurate their assumption
was.
Yeah, so like 50% human?
50% human.
We're not quite sure. It might be, it might not be.
Right.
We don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is.
Human, but we think it is.
10% cat.
Yeah.
Like, okay, is it a lion or is it a cat?
Yeah.
So, it was pretty rudimentary. But that was 3 years ago. And I remember making that assumption that AI is cool, but it's not prime time.
Yeah.
And then, we know what happened late last year. ChatGPT showed up and turned the world upside down. And now all of a sudden there's all these AI tools popping up left and right. You have DALL-E, which is by the same company, OpenAI, ChatGPT and DALL-E. You have Midjourney, literally doing art. You have just a bunch of competitors. Google came out with Bard to compete with ChatGPT. Microsoft has a partnership with OpenAI, so they're leveraging ChatGPT inside of Bing. So all these different things happening, and you're sitting there looking at this like, wow, look how far we've come.
You know what? One of the first things I had it do.
What's that?
Two things. One, I had it write me instructions on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but in different styles of languages. So medieval language. So it used that language, syntax, and told me how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The second thing I thought, well, this is pretty cool, but I want to know how close is it to taking my job. So I had it write code. I said, write me this function to do this thing. And it wrote it out. And then I said, refactor it to be more streamlined. It did, even better, probably the most optimal way. And I was like, how crazy is this?
It's crazy. I got to tell you a story about that. So I was writing this mobile application, right? And I had to do this thing where I needed to take an image from the phone, like you have image in your gallery, and I need to take it and pass it to some sort of database, right? And so typically when you do that, you want to convert it to like a string, we call it like a base 64 string or whatever. So I wrote it myself, but it was kind of sluggish and I wasn't really happy with how I did it. So then I kept streamlining it, and then finally I was pretty happy with it. But then I was like, you know what? Let me see what this AI can do with this thing. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, I need you to write me this algorithm in C# that'll take an image, a file stream, which is an image, and it'll convert it to a base 64. And it wrote almost exactly what I wrote.
Oh, wow.
Almost exactly what I wrote. And I was like, what? And then I said, okay, can you make it more efficient? A few seconds later, a more efficient version. And I was like, what? And I was like, okay, can you make it even more efficient?
Okay, so all I've seen, I showed you that Star Wars Wes Anderson.
Yes, I want to talk about
trailer.
that.
Okay, that blew me away. I didn't know exactly. I knew it was done with AI, but I didn't know how exactly. Then I found a video, kind of behind the scenes, how they did it. And the creator talked about how he did it. Amazing. Pretty soon you won't be able to tell what's real and what's not.
Right.
It's not perfect, but it's like
pretty great.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna play that trailer now for the viewers so you can know what we're talking about.
In a galaxy far, far away, prepare for a reboot like never before. This summer, Wes Anderson brings you a side of the Star Wars universe you've never seen before, the Galactic Menagerie. Join this ragtag crew of unlikely heroes as they navigate the absurdity of the cosmos, challenge the Empire, and redefine what it means to be a rebel.
Our mission is simple. We steal the Emperor's artifact, save the galaxy, and maybe find ourselves along the way.
For this mission, we'll need lightsaber, blaster, thermal detonator, paper airplanes, spare parts, and R2-D2.
With a star-studded ensemble featuring the galaxy's most eccentric cast, the Galactic Menagerie is the most delightfully offbeat Star Wars adventure yet. Starring Timothée Chalamet, Scarlett Johansson, Edward Norton, Bill Murray, Jeff Goldblum, William Dafoe, Adrian Brody, and Owen Wilson.
Wow.
Coming to theaters this summer, may the Force be with you.
What's amazing about this is the characters are played by actors.
Yep.
The actors, you can tell they're not really the actors in most cases, but they're close enough to where they look like they could be their brother or sister or sibling or whatever. But the way he did this was he went to ChatGPT. He said, give me some, movie mashup ideas, put it together. One of the ideas was Star Wars by Wes Anderson. And Wes Anderson has a very specific style.
Yep.
Most of his movies have this style.
Yep.
And then he said, okay, write the script for it. So I wrote out the trailer script for this. Then he went to Midjourney, said, hey, create these images in this style. It did. That takes a lot of refinement, work to get it right. But he did it.
Right.
Then he took it over to another program that allowed him to manipulate kind of the head turning slightly.
Right.
Or the
I was
eyes.
wondering how he did that.
Yeah, the eyes closing.
So he used AI for that too?
Yeah, I don't know what tools specifically, but there's some AI tools that will look at things, kind of like on your phone when you have an avatar.
Right.
And it mimics your movement.
Little animations.
Yeah, so I guess it's similar to that.
Got it.
I don't know exactly, but it allowed him to add this kind of real life movement from still pictures.
Interesting.
Not sure how he did the voiceover. I don't know if that was a real person or an AI. Very well could be.
There's one that does a voice of what is Morgan Freeman. Oh, really? Like it mimics it perfectly. It's crazy. Obama's voice, Biden's voice. Yeah, it's insane.
So then he finalized it by taking it into After Effects and tweaking the lighting and making it, perfect. But the majority of it was done with AI. Can you imagine if somebody did that with a news feed?
Right.
Or Donald Trump, fake news.
Yes.
Everything potentially from here on out could be fake news. Now, how do we differentiate? And I'm not an expert on AI.
Right.
We're both technologists, but that doesn't really mean anything in this world, right?
Right. It's crazy. It's a brave new world, y'all.
Yeah. How are we as audience members or, of the world trying to figure out what's real and what's not? Already we deal with these issues on social media.
You can't tell what's true.
Yeah, because people can post anything.
Absolutely.
But now when you have visual and audio proof, how do you know?
Right. I mean, if you became a nuisance to the government and somebody wanted to take you out, they don't have to take you out physically anymore, right? Why? They could just assassinate your character.
Yeah.
They could create an image of you doing something, and then all of a sudden you get canceled everywhere, or you land in jail or whatever.
100%.
And how would we know the truth? Or somebody who understands the technology and hates you, not even the government.
Yeah.
And they can just destroy your life.
You think kids in school today use social media to bully people?
Absolutely.
Can you imagine if a kid like gets really efficient with this, or the tools become so easy that anybody can do it?
Yep.
And now there's footprints of this data to where you can analyze it and you can tell if it's real or fake.
Right.
And there's ways to do that. But if you don't know how to do that,
Right.
you're just seeing something and you're.
And and even if eventually we can analyze that, get the forensics and understand that this was definitely fake, the collateral damage is already done, right? It's easy to spread bad news. Bad news will spread like wildfire. And then when the correction comes, nobody cares because we already know how the news cycle works. You know what I'm saying? And you have that stigma.
If it bleeds, it leads. So they care about all the bad stuff.
Right.
If you're trying to fix that character assassination, nobody cares about that.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, imagine, right? There's this big old headline. This person did this and they did this and how could they? But now when they realize it was fake, like, oh, we have to issue a correction. It's like 10 seconds. Yeah. They took 2 weeks to destroy you and then it'll take 10 seconds to issue that correction.
Maybe Trump knew all this before anybody else.
Hey,
it's all fake news.
You know what I'm saying? Fake news.
Yeah.
But no, it's crazy, man. So I want to change gears a little bit. We're talking about just all the interesting things coming out and all the craziness of it. But I think a lot of people, when they think about AI, the first place that their mind goes to, and we alluded to this earlier, is my job in danger? What do you think about, let's talk about who we feel like really needs to watch out, like their job is legitimately in danger. What can we do to better prepare? If can we do anything? Should these companies that are pushing these AI out, do they have a responsibility to slow roll this thing so that we have time to prepare? What do you think?
So I think this technology is, when we look at the internet as an example, that changed the world.
Yep.
We got news immediately now.
Yep.
We get information immediately. Data is shared like never before in history.
Absolutely.
AI is going to be a much more impactful technology than the internet was.
I absolutely agree.
So who should worry about their job? Everybody.
Yeah.
Where the potential is there. We don't even know where it's going to lead, right?
Yeah.
We know it's powerful. We know we're just seeing the beginning of it right now.
It's nothing.
If I can ask it, to write code for me, and it does it efficiently, better than 50% of the programmers out there.
Yeah.
Then, why can't I just feed it an idea and it does it for me?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think realistically, I don't see it in the next 5 to 10 years taking over everybody's job.
Yeah.
But I do see there's going to be areas where we really refine these models that we use to make decisions.
Right.
Whether it's, hey, how do I improve this process? Or how do I, what are some ideas that I haven't thought about or whatever, right?
Right.
We can use it for ideation, but I don't know that in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to take over a lot of jobs. But what we'll see is, I'll give you an example in the logistics space or the manufacturing space. Today we have to make a lot of mistakes. We have to build a lot of machinery and watch it work for a while and refine it and build it.
Yeah.
These AI models, I feel like we'll be able to feed it data and it'll learn faster than what we can prototype ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so, slowly it'll speed up development in these areas. It's not necessarily going to take over jobs right away.
Right.
But then as we learn and as AI becomes more powerful,
Right.
it very well could.
Yeah.
Because we'll learn efficiencies that remove the human from this process, whatever that process is, right?
Right.
Today, if you think about like the medical field, doctors trying to find cures for disease, cancer, or whatever. Imagine when the AI models get so efficient that it's doing it for the doctors. And now the doctors may have to refine it or test it or whatever, but it's going to do a lot of this footwork where it was taking us years.
Right.
So it's going to advance us rather quickly without necessarily taking over jobs.
Right.
But imagine when you pair AI with robotics.
That part.
Now they're smart enough to learn.
Yep.
They have the mechanisms, the arms, the legs, or rollers, or whatever that robot is. But now it has the ability to move, to manipulate, to do, and to think.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about, people getting hurt by robots or whatever, because people won't be part of that system.
Right.
So then it's going to slowly start taking over manufacturing and things like that.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
They open up the first, I found out the other day that they opened up the first fully automated McDonald's in North Texas. It's actually pretty close to where I live. And this entire McDonald's is ran by robotics.
What, really?
And imagine now after they implement AI into that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because right now you can use robotics and program it. It'll make the burger. We understand those technology, but now imagine the implications of AI in that flow.
Yep.
I think it's crazy. But I think, like, I love when he talked about the example with the internet, right? Because when I think about this, I think about what a disruptive force the internet has been, right? And of course, AI doesn't necessarily need the internet, but the internet is a useful backbone because now you can disseminate and it makes the neural network aspect of it possible, right?
Yep.
So when I think about this, I think what the internet did, because the internet destroyed a lot of jobs, right? But it also created a lot more jobs than it destroyed. Who would have thought that you could literally pick up your phone and you can create a career from your phone?
Yeah.
Who would have thought that Uber, DoorDash, and all these gig economy things, Turo, and all these different things that we use. Imagine that you have these websites, you have Elance, you have Fiverr. People literally create entire companies just based off these websites.
Yeah.
We couldn't have considered that. And so I feel like for every job that the internet took away, because it did just take away a lot of jobs over time. It didn't happen immediately, but over time. But it created tens of thousands of more opportunities. I feel like AI is going to have a similar effect. I think it feels like, just looking at it now, it feels like this thing is definitely going to kill a lot of jobs. And I think it will, especially if you're into the language space. If you're maybe not if you're a good I think a lot of programmers are up in arms because it can program, but I think we're still far away from that, because at some point you still have to prompt it and you have to understand the output of the code in order to know that the code is good. So you still need trained programmers to still be able to evaluate that stuff. So I don't think we're quite there yet. But I think if you are an editor, maybe you do editing for a living, maybe you're on Fiverr, I write a paragraph and I send it to you and you edit it. I can feed that to ChatGPT and have it do a better job than you could.
What did the internet do to newspapers?
It's gone.
It's
gone, completely gone.
What is ChatGPT gonna do to writers?
Exactly.
That part. I knew you were coming today, so I was playing around with ChatGPT a little bit more. And so I had an idea based on that Wes Anderson Star Wars mashup.
Yep.
I wanted to see if I could write a book purely with ChatGPT. Now, there's some limitations, it won't write the entire thing.
Right.
But I asked, what are some of the most popular themes that people would enjoy reading? And it listed all, drama, comedy, and sci-fi. And it listed examples of each kind of thematic, subsection of those genres. And one of them was AI in science fiction. So I said, okay, what would the title be? And it gave me the title. I said, okay, what would the base idea be?
Right.
It gave me the idea. I said, who are the main characters? It listed out the 4 primary characters.
Way.
Yeah. Then I said, what are the chapters of this book? It wrote out all the chapters. Then I started literally going chapter 1 through, I think it had 24 chapters that I identified. I asked it to write each chapter. Now, it won't write the entire thing.
Right.
There's some limitations there still. But it wrote a synopsis of each chapter. I could take that, and
Write
add
the
to
novel.
it or write it myself
Yeah.
without having to get stumped on, a lot of these details.
Right.
Now, whether or not it's good,
Right.
that's debatable. But the fact that it can do that. So, with news articles
Right.
and things, I don't have to be a proficient writer
Yep.
anymore.
Yep.
I just have to have an idea.
Absolutely.
The content, the general content I want to portray.
Right.
It'll write it for me.
Well, I mean, that's basically removing writer's block.
Exactly.
Most people won't write because they're stuck.
Yeah.
The task of writing is very daunting. But usually, I'm sure most of you watching, I'm sure you've had this experience, I've had this experience. Once you start going, the ideas flow.
Yeah.
But it's just to get started. So what if this is people could use this in two ways, the way I see it, right? They can use it as a means to be now lazy. Like you don't do anything because the AI is there and it does most of it for you. But I feel like if you use it the right way is like, hey, help me get a jump start.
Yeah.
Now the ideas flow. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Use it as a partner as opposed to just having it enable you to be lazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've even seen it with Mid-Journey. I haven't used it personally. I'm cheap. I don't want to pay for it. But, I've seen what people are outputting.
Right.
And it's amazing.
Right. Now, can you tell about what Mid-Journey is for those who don't know?
Okay, so I don't know a lot about it, but it's a visual version of what ChatGPT is. So you feed it information. Give me this image with this style, with this person in it that looks like this. So you have to feed it very detailed descriptions, and then it outputs a stylized version, however you described it, as a image.
It's crazy.
And so really, you think about, artists or even in marketing or advertising. You've always had a traditional artist either take pictures, do Photoshop, Illustrator work, whatever. Now you don't have to have the artistic ability, and it puts out amazing pictures. Now it's debatable, there's something about having somebody do it,
Right.
Is
it art if an AI did it?
Yeah, I mean, that's debatable.
It's debatable, yeah.
But if you're looking for something very specific that an artist, you can't find the right artist to do it, you can feed it a description.
Right.
And I would say it's 90% there. And then you can take it and manipulate it from there in Photoshop or whatever you want to do and add to it,
Right.
But you don't have to have a 4-year art degree now. You don't have to learn to draw.
Right.
You don't have to learn some of these tools. You can just feed it information and spit it out.
Well, back to the trend of talking about jobs, right?
Yeah.
I can already imagine.
Yep.
If we can't already do it now, very soon, if I need a floor plan, if I need blueprints for my house,
Yeah.
I'll just feed the prompts to the AI. I don't have to go pay somebody $3,000, $2,000 to create me this perfect blueprint. 3D model.
You might have to pay the AI service $3,000, but a human's not doing it anymore.
But because it's AI, right, and because that they scale, now instead of me paying $3,000, maybe I'm paying $30 a month.
Yeah.
Maybe now it's accessible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So can you imagine? I just thought of this. They have the 3D printing where they're printing houses out of concrete.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Can you imagine if you hook up AI to that and you say, build me a house like that, and you describe it, it presents you a picture.
Right.
It presents all the floor plans, everything that you need to, and maybe, I was going to say, it gives you all the data or blueprints or whatever you need to take to the city, the county, get it all approved. What if you had the city connect with this AI? It does it all on the back end.
Right.
You instantly get approval, and then it starts printing your house.
Dude.
In a couple of days, it's done. You move in.
Do you know what you just described?
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
No, think about this.
Yeah.
In Star Wars, they have these machines, I guess they call them like replicators or something, right? Like they have these.
Star Trek?
Is it Star Trek? It's
Yeah,
Star Trek.
that
You're
has
right.
a
It's Star Trek,
replicator. Yeah.
Where literally they go to the computer and they say, "Computer, I need coffee."
Yep.
And it just creates it.
Yep. Yeah.
That's kind of where we're
Yeah.
heading with some of this stuff. If you
Yeah,
really
yeah.
think about it, I mean, that's like the natural progression.
So let's talk. That's all good stuff. I think.
Right.
Beyond taking people's jobs. Nobody wants to
Who
be
cares
robots.
about that?
But what about when it goes wrong?
That part.
How I have this feeling because I've been indoctrinated with Terminator, The Matrix.
iRobot.
Yeah,
Will Smith
iRobot.
tried to warn us.
Yeah.
Before he slapped Chris, he tried to.
Yeah. And it's not fantasy like Star Wars. Star Wars is fantasy.
Right.
Because it has nothing to do with Earth.
Right.
It has humanoid characters, but it has nothing to do with Earth. It's really fantasy, if you think about it.
Right.
But we're talking about technology that once we thought was fantasy, but now is actually coming true. What happens when AI starts to think?
Yeah.
And right now, so the way AI works, people are overblown with AI. Some people are, it's going to destroy the earth. Maybe so, I don't know.
Right.
But right now, AI models have very specific things they're trained in.
Yeah.
So if I need an AI model about DNA, there's models very specific about DNA that will analyze DNA and give you results, different usage of it in science.
Right.
The one that we use for identification, in photos,
Yep.
right? It can identify it
Yep.
and tell you. So they're very disconnected.
Yeah.
There's not a single AI that does everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But when will these models kind of converge or come together to do multiple things?
Right.
When will they start to learn? Because you train models.
Right.
Just the idea that you're training something means it's learning. Right. Now we can debate about what learning is.
Right. That's a philosophical conversation for another pod.
Yeah. But what happens when it starts to analyze things and learn?
Yeah.
When we learn, we make decisions based off what we learn.
Right.
We have a lot of bias. Right? Now, what happens when we have a bias toward another country? Or another, some sort of faction of people?
Right. Political bias and whatever. Right.
So what happens to us when we do that? Well, we make decisions. Sometimes
it affects our decision-making process.
Yeah.
I'll vote a certain way because of my political bias.
Yeah. How can we expect AI not to do the same thing eventually? Eventually.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, even now, because of the way it's trained, it does have biases.
Yeah.
You ask it certain questions, it answers in a biased way, and you know it's biased because you have other information that you can say, well, it's not a lie what you just said, but the way you presented it, it's very biased.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And right now, humans are feeding it information.
Right.
So just by the nature of that,
Human bias.
is passed on to these models.
Absolutely.
But
what happens when it surpasses that and gains its own perspective?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's concerning.
That's concerning. That's very concerning.
So what do we do?
And that's so that's the big conversation right now that a lot of people in the AI space are having, right? They call this the big question is, when are we going to achieve general intelligence? Right? That's this where the AI becomes self-aware, and it's a philosophical question, but it's also a real possibility. What is consciousness? And when do we say, can we really say this thing is not conscious yet? Because in order to say that, we have to define consciousness. And consciousness is probably something like self-awareness, right? Something like I am who I am. But the AI seems to know what it is. Now, it doesn't know it the way we know it. But then you have to ask yourself, well, how do we know it? So
I remember a story. I don't know. I can't remember if this is true. So, tell me I'm wrong in the comments or whatever.
They will.
Yeah. But I remember a story, if I didn't dream it, Facebook, if I remember correctly, had an AI they were testing. And I don't know if it was connected to the internet or if it was, on a isolated computer, but it started developing its own way of communication and developed its own language to more effectively communicate, I guess, with itself.
That's scary.
Yeah, and they shut it down because they didn't expect it. They didn't expect it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Today, I don't know, it was a while back. I think it was 60 Minutes. Can't remember who exactly was on there, but a couple of people from Google, I believe, was on there.
Right.
And even they said, we don't really know how some of this works.
Yeah.
We generally know because we created it.
Right.
But there's this like black box piece of it.
It shouldn't work.
Yeah. But it does.
It does.
And we don't know how.
We're not quite sure exactly how the sausage is made.
So that's interesting because if you don't really understand how it works, what do you know about its capabilities?
Right. Exactly. That part that you don't understand could be the part that goes haywire. Yeah, and that's what's crazy about it. Yeah, this whole thing is insane. It's always interesting when you talk about AI because everybody has different misconceptions. A lot of people don't care, but a lot of people do, and they're becoming awakened to it. So yeah, this we're definitely in a brave new world.
What do you think the next step?
The next step, I think what's going to happen is what's scary is that a lot of these companies are profit driven. And when you're profit driven, you're not necessarily safety driven, right? Yeah. And I think, so a lot of the people who have concerns about AI, their concern is that you have these massive organizations with unlimited funding. Yeah. You got all the big players, they're involved in this thing, and they're all trying to get to market as quickly as possible. And so I think one or two things is gonna happen. Either the government is gonna get involved because enough people are saying, hey, get involved here and start bringing regulations to make sure these companies are in check, or something is going to happen bad first that's going to force the government to get involved. Either way, I think regulation's coming, which I say good, right? Yeah. Because, I'm thinking like this is so new and this is so potentially dangerous that we really need to, the problem with AI is that like, I think it could create really good things and I'm excited for those things, but humans don't have wisdom and perspective. Yeah. Right, because money is a big motivator, and so we need to have wisdom and perspective before something goes wrong. So I think regulation is what's coming. That's what's next.
Years ago, when I was a kid, they started talking about global warming, and it wasn't a thing. Right. It wasn't real. Right. Right. And there's still debate among some people that it's cyclical. Right. So it's just a cycle the Earth goes through.
Right, and it warms and cools.
Yeah. Highly debatable.
Right. But I think most people would say we have some sort of impact, whether that impact is consequential or not. There is impact.
But I bring that up because the industry today is regulated to a certain degree. Right. And they're making changes, but is it going to be fast enough? Right. Before the Earth overheats. Right. It's right now June 2023. Right. And I just read in Corpus Christi, the heat index went up to 125, the highest in history
ever recorded.
Yeah, for that area. I don't know, maybe different in different parts of the world, but the fact is, it's a record, and it's regulated to a certain degree. Are we moving fast enough? Probably not. Right. Is the industry really willing to make the changes? Right. Probably not, because it's expensive. It eats into their profit.
Absolutely.
So you equate that same thinking, if they're not really wanting to make improvements for humans to survive, because is it going to happen in their lifetime? Right. Probably not. Let our grandkids deal with it, right? So if we apply that to AI, even if the government comes into play. Right. They're getting tax money from these companies. Right. They're getting kickbacks, whatever it is, Yeah. So are they actually going to gate it?
Are they incentivized to gate it?
Yeah. Or is it going to get out of hand?
Right.
And are companies going to just say, well, we're making so much money. Do we really want to control it? Do we really want to step back?
Right.
So really, how is that going to happen?
Right.
How is that going to work?
Yeah, that's.
Are we as humankind?
Are we capable?
Yeah.
And that's that wisdom and perspective I was talking about. We don't have that. And so some people do, but it's like when you have a machine and this machine's sole purpose is to maximize profit.
Yep.
What chance do you have to stop the machine from chugging along?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now, what would be cool is I do believe that AI has the capability of advancing us further in a shorter amount of time.
For sure.
For developing technology and things like that. So I would love to see time travel. Don't think it's really a possibility because we've never had anybody from the future visit us that we know of.
Yeah.
Okay, but
you would think it was possible.
But what about space travel?
Right.
What about going to Mars faster?
Absolutely.
Well, we can't because of the technology we have today.
Right.
You know, it takes years to get to Mars.
For sure.
And I know Elon Musk, that's his goal is to live on Mars.
Right.
But there are ideas and theories about different types of engines and things that could advance us further and faster.
Sure.
It's going to be a long way off if humans have to do it because we have, it costs a lot of money.
Right.
It takes a lot of time, a lot of very smart people.
Right.
And, the fact is, it's going to take time.
Right.
But with AI, it can run these models, these simulations for us, provide us some more detail or outcomes that help us advance quicker and kind of weed out the noise that we would have bumped into otherwise.
For sure.
And just speed it up. Wouldn't that be crazy?
Yeah.
If we could actually get out of our solar system?
Right. That would be insane.
Yeah.
Well, man, as we wind down, there's one thing I want to get your opinion on. As somebody who is in the industry, you've been in the industry for a while now. I'm getting up there myself. We're in an industry that is sought after. A lot of people are excited about it. I think most people, rightly so, see the opportunity that technology presents.
Yeah.
So for our audience out there, somebody who's maybe considering getting into the industry at whatever level, whether it's programmer, maybe it's database, maybe it's security, maybe it's cyber, maybe it's AI. What do you think in this brave new world of AI? Is it too late? Should they forget about it? Or is it still possible? Should they still be looking at technology? And if so, what are some maybe advice we could give?
Yes, I never think it's too late. So yeah, there's AI, there's this new technology coming up. It will change our industry in ways that we don't even know yet. But in the short term, for sure in the short term, I don't think it's too late. Like if you have a passion for it, if you want to do it, if you have a desire for it and love technology, now is the best time. It's so much more interesting now. With machine learning and AI, like that's where I would focus. I don't know that, and maybe it's just me, maybe it's just something new.
Right.
And I'm always driven to learning new things. But this space is so interesting.
Right.
And it's just beginning.
Absolutely.
And so I think anybody can learn this stuff. People think it's so hard. You have to be a scientist.
Right.
You can go, I'm predominantly self-taught. I work at one of the largest companies in the world. And, if I could do it, anybody could. It does take a lot of effort and work. You don't necessarily have to have a degree. You don't have to go to MIT for this stuff.
For sure.
All companies are going to start implementing some sort of AI machine learning going forward. What that is depends on the company. But there's so many opportunities. This is going to open the door for so many people. And you're not going to have this generalized AI anytime soon. So it's not going to take you over your job or potential job. Right now is definitely hard because of the economy. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be hard 6 months from now or a year from now.
For sure.
So if you have the desire, there's a lot of free resources out there. Amazon, AWS, specifically AWS, Azure, Google, they all have free resources to learn.
Right.
I would take advantage of all the free resources you can.
Right.
Read as much as you can about it. Stay up to speed. You know,
You
it's
have
fun.
to.
It's fun listening to podcasts like this,
Right.
but you know, we're not really teaching anybody anything. We're just having a good discussion. But it's never too late to learn and make a decision to get into technology, no matter what angle you're coming in.
Right.
You just have to have the passion and desire to do so.
Right, right. Yeah, and I fully agree with that. And I want to say that, you know, exactly what you're saying, and just to add another angle to it, is that as we're looking at AI, I think it's never been even more accessible and easier to learn. Use the AI to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Like literally, if you want to learn to code, for example, you can go to ChatGPT and tell it, hey, write me this thing that does this.
Yeah.
And it'll write it for you. But what's even better is it'll explain step by step what it wrote. And you can ask it any question about the thing you're reading.
Yeah.
It doesn't get better than that, because now I think everybody now can take that approach and, based on their own learning style, tailor the AI to help them learn the way they want to learn.
Yeah, even Google's web browser now has an AI beta that they're released.
Right.
And it adds a layer onto the search results.
Right, right.
And it makes it more accessible to find the information that you're really looking for.
Right.
Too. So if you're bumping into issues while you're learning programming, you know, that's a good way to to find the answers that you want. I haven't tried yet in ChatGPT, but I'm sure if you said, hey, explain this function to me, it probably could.
It will. Yeah. I've tried it, and it does, and does a good job.
So I think you're right. Use AI to help you learn. Technology.
Absolutely.
But to answer your first question, though, I don't think it's ever too late.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to say something too about something you said about that right now it being hard because of the economy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times when people approach me who are either interested, or even if they're not interested, but they're just somebody looking from afar into the industry, their question usually goes something like, is technology dead? Like, I see all these tech companies are laying off. Is the wave over? Right. That's usually what they mean, right? When they say is it dead, like, you know, because they understood that we were in this bubble, and they're asking if this tech bubble is bursting now. Should we get off this gravy train that you and I have been recipients of for the last few years? And my answer to that is no. I don't think the gravy train is over. I think, as you said, COVID was a very unique period. And I think what happened was, because of the pandemic and everybody went home, a lot of these tech companies overhired because they freaked out. They said, oh my gosh, there's this spike in technology usage because everybody's home on fiber. We're watching a lot of Netflix, we're consuming YouTube, we're on social media. So everybody saw spikes in their usage and they started freaking out and hiring in order to get ahead of it. Well, guess what? The pandemic came down to a screeching halt, and now you have all these extra hands. And they realize that, okay, we have to level set. So now what we're seeing is a balancing act that's happening. It's not really that the bubbles burst, is that these companies now have to equalize. And so,
that's exactly what happened. You know, during the pandemic was something I've never seen in my lifetime, and companies were just struggling to make good with the circumstances they had.
Absolutely.
And they were trying to build new technologies to accommodate this thing that they had no idea how long we were going to be in lockdown. How long were we going to have to be at home? And so they were just throwing, you know, a lot of people on these big problems. And to your point, when the pandemic ended and everybody started going back to work, they're like, wait, you know, a lot of the things that we're building aren't necessarily priority anymore. Because we don't have this forcible, you know, stay at home, you know, regulation. So now they're refocusing on things that are going to make a different impact, you know, what they need to focus on. So they have been laying people off. But I've already seen some of those hiring freezes be lifted.
Yep.
And people are starting to hire more now.
I'm seeing that as well.
And yeah, I still think it's a great opportunity for people.
Absolutely.
And especially as they start ramping up, if you're in the process of learning this new technology, people are going to try to figure out how to utilize it.
Yeah.
And if you're smart and are able to help these companies utilize it, you're going to be golden.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. The sky's the limit. You know, this is a brave new world, guys. And you just be a little bit, think outside the box. Think about, there's so much out there. Every day I'm seeing people create some crazy stuff with AI. They're going viral. People are making companies just around this new wave. So interesting times. And I think the best is yet to come. Yep. So, well, man, I'm super happy that you decided to sit with me and do this. This has been amazing. Any final parting words for my viewers here before we close this thing out?
No, I loved it. I think this is great. I hope we get to do more of these on other topics. And yeah.
Sweet.
Well, welcome to my house and enjoy. Let's go get some coffee or a drink.
You heard it here first, guys.
Bye.
See ya.